I want anyone to know that if you have doubts, if you have thoughts that it might not be possible for you, if you have the willingness to change and to step into the unknown, anything is possible. It happened for me. So in 2020, I came down with a virus you may have heard of, and got very sick for about a month. When I went back to work, I noticed certain things were happening in my body that were unexpected. My heart rate would shoot up to 160 just trying to walk across the room. I'm a nurse midwife. I was the second surgeon in a C-section, and I passed out for the first time in my life, broke my tailbone. So there were a lot of concerning things, and I noticed that simple things like charting was taking me a lot longer. And over the months, my legs got weaker. I would stand up and take about 5 steps, and my legs would just buckle. And my brain got worse and worse to the point where I couldn't figure out how to use my phone. I would try to say, feed the dogs to my kids, and I would just point and for the bark, and they would look at me, and it was really scary. Ultimately, I've seen about 33 specialists during my healing journey. Every doctor would say, this isn't right, now we need to send you to another specialist. So I've seen neurologists, immunologists, gastroenterologists, nephrologists, neuroimmunologists, connective tissue, on and on, you can imagine, right? And I was getting inundated with bad news after bad news. I'll tell you my diagnoses, because when I watched the stories of transformation, I would get hope from hearing other people who had healed some of these same conditions. And I also want to share, because I had concerns or questions when I was doing the work. Some days when I would forget what I was doing, I would think, well, maybe my case is too complex. Maybe I have too long of a list, and it may not be possible for me. So ultimately, the diagnoses that I was given were Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. It's a connective tissue disorder, myasthenia gravis, long COVID, mast cell activation syndrome, which is severe allergies, and I had blistering welts from almost any exposure. I mean, at one point I was anaphylaxing to tap water. I only had 6 safe foods that I could eat, and I was essentially relegated to one room in my house with 3 air purifiers and a walker, and I could make it with my walker about 15 feet to the bathroom and back to the couch. So my world got really small. I wasn't working. I couldn't communicate very well. I couldn't mom. And I really, after about a year of getting lots of diagnoses, I can't tell you the amount of meds that I was put on, taken off, another tried, and basically everyone said, you know, here, this might help you manage your symptoms, but once you have these conditions, you have them forever. There's no cure. So that was about the time that, thankfully, I came across a documentary called Heal. Yeah, you may have heard of it. And Dr. Joe was on there. And at that point, my processing was really impaired. And he's the only thing I remember hearing. And he told about his story when he healed his spine, and I heard him say, the power that heals, or the body, sorry, it's his quote, not mine.
Power that made the body heals the body.
That. Exactly. It hit my heart in a way and gave me a little spark of hope that I hadn't had for about 1.5 years. And I went, okay, I gotta know more. So I read the books. I couldn't read at that point. I had such bad double vision, and like I said, visual processing and complex processing, I couldn't read. So I listened to them, and I listened to them over and over because I was a slow learner at that point, but I was determined. I was all in. started doing the meditations. About 6 weeks into doing the meditations, I had a little glimpse of that no time, no space, and I felt pure love. And it was the first relief from the severe joint pain, from the constant vertigo, the nausea and vomiting, all the symptoms that were making me feel trapped. And I realized there was something more, and I wanted more of that. So I kept going, and little by little, I would see glimpses of change. Most days, it was literally a meditation, and then all day listening to Dr. Joe through my headphones, or telling myself change. And when you're sitting in a room and, I couldn't use my body, but I would start doing little tricks like, okay, I know I need to feel an elevated emotion if my body is going to change. It can't live in these stress hormones.
Hold on a second, because I want you to realize the genius, because she filled her brain with enough knowledge that she was able to say, I have to feel an elevated emotion if my body's going to feel, because any other emotion is the past. Yes or no? And I gotta be able to feel that emotion in spite of how horrible I feel. So this isn't just positive thinking. Do you understand? And she's thinking, I read in the book, the environment signals the gene. The end product of an experience in the environment is an emotion. If I feel this elevated emotion, I'm signaling genes ahead of the environment. I could actually change my biology by doing this, and she assigns meaning to the act, switches on the prefrontal cortex, and begins to get a greater outcome because she understands what she's doing and why she's doing it. How many people understand? Sorry to interrupt you, Angelia.
Thank you. So for me, not being able to move or communicate much, I got really grateful for, oh, look at this glass of water. There is water that is available for me to drink, and I would just cherish it, and I would, be like, oh, this is an offering to life. I had water today. Or, oh, I have this soft pillow. How lucky am I? I'm the luckiest person in the world. I have the softest pillow. And there were a lot of days that I would look out the window, and it became an experiment to me to feel these emotions, and it became actually fun, and I would laugh because I would look out the window and my double vision was so bad, but I would go, oh, look at those trees, and aren't I lucky? I'm seeing 2 of them.
You know the alternative, right? Sitting there feeling sorry for yourself. That's the same old story. Don't you know I can't, I never change, it'll never work. Those thoughts have corresponding chemicals that feed the body as well.
During the next handful of months, I had a first experience of like, oh, what I'm doing internally is having an impact on the external world or on my internal environment, and it could show it. So I was going to my 6-month appointment with my nephrologist, and I had had blood in my urine for about 10 years. And my electrolytes kept being really messed up. They were just following stuff. And so I was going for the appointment, and I'd been doing Dr. Joe's work for about 2 months, and got my blood and urine taken, and then I saw the doctor, and he said, oh, well, I was planning on recommending a biopsy next, but there's no blood in your urine, and your labs look fine. And I was like, really? Really? Okay. Secretly, I was like, well, great, because I didn't want to do a biopsy, and I don't think I would have done it anyway.
But look, what was the realization? She just needed one thing. She just needed one crumb. She just needed one change. The surprise caught her attention, yes or no? It was unexpected, and the unexpected is the unknown, yes or no? She gets the news, and what do you think she says? Oh, shucks, I'm not healed all the way. Or does she say, whoa, something's changing from what I'm doing. I'm going to pay attention to what I've been doing, and I'm going to do it even more with more intention, with more belief, with more energy. I'm going to put more of my mind and heart behind it. How many people understand?
So that led me to the great opportunity. I got to go to Denver a week long this last July. Yeah. It was fabulous, and I was fortunate to be a Healy. And
Wait a second. Don't jump through that, because where were you sitting? Weren't you sitting over there in Denver? And what were you seeing? You were sitting on a recliner. You had a chair. You had all these kind of things because you couldn't get around.
I had a scooter. I had a walker for if I felt like I could get, a little bit of walking. I had an oxygen machine. I had a couple stools. I had a body brace that held my joints together.
She was camping out.
Yeah, that was my spot. And at that point, Dr. Joe still had two heads because of my double vision, but now he's just got one. Because at that event with the first coherence healing, I was healed.
I want her to tell you the story of her experience during the coherence healing.
So I was laying in my fancy recliner. I'm sure I had lots of pillows. But as soon as the healers came in, I was zoop out of my body. And I'd never experienced anything like this. I was out of my body.
Known or unknown? What is she going to say? Oh, damn, I'm out of my body. Let me get back.
And I looked over, I was in space, and I looked over towards my right, and there was a light body, just a beautiful, glowing, shimmering being coming towards me. And as she approached, and I knew it was a she, I just felt so much love and connection and oneness and wisdom coming from this light being. It was more love than I'd ever experienced or imagined. And as she got closer to me, I realized it was me. It was the eternal me, or the future me, the me that I didn't fully understand was available. But she merged with me, and whoop, we were in the top of a room. And I looked down, and I realized we were at my birth. And it was the most real thing I've ever experienced, more real than this could ever seem. I could see the texture of the walls. I could see the texture of my dad's shirt and the hairs on his arm. And this light being, the me in me, moved down towards the bed and lifted up baby me and brought her up with us towards the ceiling and turned back in love and gratitude to my parents and communicated, "Thank you, she's ours now." And then whoop, we were out in space again, and I looked around, and there were all the ages of me that I'd been up until the present. I was holding on my hip a little toddler me, and I was just able to love and see each age of me and appreciate what I'd been through. And I knew that everything was perfect. Everything that had brought me to this point was exactly as it needed to be, and that we were loved. I was protected. There was nothing but perfection and love. And then, whoop, I was back in the ballroom just above my body, and I saw behind my healers, I saw my dad's dad behind one healer on one side with his hand on their shoulder. I saw my mom's mom across from them behind the other healer with her hand on their shoulder. And behind them were other relatives and ancestors with their hands on their shoulders, going back and on, all the way out of the ballroom until it disappeared. And I was made to understand that they were in love and gratitude, healing the healers as the healers healed me. So. And then there was this yellow light, the healers' patterns. It was patterns within patterns, and it became 3D. It was this beautiful gold pattern that was interacting with my energy, and as the healers sent me love, it would bounce off and return to them, and it just grew and just enveloped everything. And then the healing was over, and I knew I was healed. I knew it was done. And over the next couple days, I was walking. I wasn't using my oxygen. I would notice at the end of a day that I'd get back to the room, and I was on meds that if I didn't take them every 3 hours, I would have a hard time sitting up or swallowing. It was really significant. So I'd never missed a med before that, and I'd get back to my room and I'd go, I forgot to take half my meds, and I'm doing great. And I'm walking, and I don't need this old oxygen either. And within a handful of days, when I got home, when I would take any medicine, I started getting nauseous, and I started getting reactions to the medicine, and I went, oh yeah, I'm healed. My body is reminding me. And so within a week of that, I haven't been on meds, I haven't been using oxygen, haven't been using a scooter or a walker, and it just keeps getting better and better. And so I want anyone to know that if you have doubts, if you have thoughts that it might not be possible for you, if you have the willingness to change and to step into the unknown, anything is possible. It happened for me.
What do you think? By the way, I watched her the whole week. I watched her do her final walking meditation on the last day of that week long. She was dancing, one of those people you think, oh, what is up with this lady dancing during the walking meditation? She was in a throne for years. She was out of the throne. She was happy. She got lit up. You think? She does not seem like the type of person that makes things up. It doesn't seem like something confabulated. It sounded pretty real, no? Can't make that stuff up. Whether the event was real or not is incidental to the fact of what the outcome was. The outcome, when she felt all that love, when she felt all those feelings, it was the experience in itself that healed her. Come on, are you with me? And many times people stand on the stage and they get lost in telling the story of the experience. And I say, would you please tell them, oh yeah, and I was blind and now I can see. Oh, thank you. I was on a wheelchair, now I can walk. Oh yeah, I know. I was watching you over there. She had a wheelchair, she had a scooter, she had crutches, she had a lounge, she had pillows, she had oxygen, she had drugs, she had everything. She couldn't walk. That is not the same person that's standing on the stage today. Her experience for her was real, and the collective network of observers was changing the information in her field, integrating into that field, and she saw that the love that they were giving was love that was coming back to them. Wow.